Real true education, not fake news. Good morning, it's the 26th of November 2020. This is a very important video. It may not look much, and everyone knows I'm not a fan of wind energy, but people could lose their shirts over something that's developing right now. I've made a little trailer 17T as well, and please have a wee look at it. I'm under a bit of pressure of time here, so I'll just go through it as quick as I can. It's money sink 17S sinkhole, right? Get rid of all your money, your gratuity. A nurse or a doctor or somebody could lose everything they have on a scam that's taking place right now. Now, I produced a dossier on the insolvency of Irish wind farms. It's a long dossier. It contains the accounts of about 30 wind farms, and it looks at the financial situation, and they're all broke. They can't make money. Now, there was an accountant and an engineer helping with that, but you can get the accounts from the Company Records Office, and it's all right. It's all there. So I've given this to the politicians, and they don't want to know. And you can get it from me from this number, valavic@gmail.com. valavic@gmail.com. I will not keep your email address, and I do not want junk mail from anyone. I just send it back to you on Google Docs, PDF or Word. If you tell me which one you have, I'll send it to you. Now, it's a year old, but it's still very relevant. Valavic, VALAMHIC. That's Val, my son in Irish, @gmail.com. Right now, so now, the 17 series, I looked at a lot of stuff. I got very few views. I got only 23 views on one of them. So people are not into big figures. But don't forget, if you invest your gratuity or money you get for a house or a will or something, it's counted on financial accounting, and there's no way you can get around that. I can count it, but some people can't, but that's not the issue. Now, the cost of wind energy at the minute is about 2.3 million euros per megawatt installed capacity. About 2.3 million euros per megawatt installed capacity. It's gone up. It used to be a lot less, but a big wind turbine now is about 2.5 megawatts. So you can multiply 2.3 by 2.5 and you find out how much a turbine costs. But there are associated works as well, and groundworks and cabling, all very expensive. And they're spending money like there's no tomorrow, and they're not thinking where they're going to get it back. And they're all limited companies, so they can walk away. But if you get caught, you won't walk away, or your daughter or your husband or something. Now, 76% on average at the present capacity of wind, of the income from wind energy, is the cost of running it, and that's repairs and maintenance, rent to farmers, commercial rates, all the stuff that has to be paid in any business. Now, in a normal business view, if you have 24% left in money, you're doing well, but because there's such a disparity between the cost of a wind farm and the income that you get, which is nearly very little, it's a lot there in that case. Now, so 24% of the income they get goes on paying interest, not the principal, just the interest on the loans to build it, because they're mostly built on loans. Now, if we work out the figures for 1 megawatt, there's 8,760 hours in a year. Multiply that by what they get at the minute is 76 euros per megawatt hour produced, and that will give you 159,728. But don't jump up and down yet. They only have a 20% output, 20% factor, and that means that a wind farm, a megawatt costing 2.3 million euros will only give a return of all they have left in spare money to pay anything, or a dividend, is 32,000 euros. 32,000 euros. Sorry for getting a bit hoarse there. And the degrade. Now, that means that some of them it'll take over 68 years to pay back the principal sum, and they only have a lifespan of 20 to 22 years, roughly that. 20 years is what most of the accounts show. So as they get to 20 years, you still have 48 years to pay, and no wind farm there to pay it. So you can see this is a total and utter scam. Now, the principal cannot be paid. In some cases, it'll take 400 years. The income is so bad, it'll take 400 years to pay the principal. There's so little income. You get bored selling coffee on the street. Now, if they could clear the debt, the 24% of income that they're paying on interest, if they could get rid of the debt, they'd then have equity, that's shareholders. And if they can get people to invest in shares, they'll never get their money back. They get rid of the debt and they're laughing, and the shareholders will take years to realise they've been scammed, because some of these are pension funds. People might put in money when in their 30s and they're hoping this money will be there when they're 65, and by that time means the wind farm will be gone, but they know that by then they can just walk off and head off abroad and live on their money and leave the whole mess behind them. Now, No. So if we say they got rid of all their debt and they got people to take shares, well then when that's divided up, it give a return of 33,500 euros on an investment of 2.3 million. And of course, you wouldn't be investing, very few people would have 2.3 million to invest, but if a number of people got together, as the Minister and the government wants us to do, Richard Bruton and a lot more, this is all you get back. So you can work that out yourself, get your calculator and divide the top by the bottom, and you'll see what the amount of, but you'd never, ever get your money back. Okay, this is what the government and the wind companies are trying on. Now, they want to swap debt for equity. That's an old trick. They want to swap debt for equity. And most of these companies, like Mainstream Renewable Power that built our wind farm here, describe themselves more as an asset management company than a wind farm company. And their model is to build and sell on, get rid of it as quick as they can. So I've checked the accounts of 30 wind farms and I've never found a dividend ever to be paid. Not a genuine dividend, never a genuine dividend. I have found instances where new shareholders bought shares and that money was used to pay a dividend to existing shareholders. That's a scam. That was illegal up to a few years ago, and the Irish government were lobbied by the wind industry and they made it legal. So if you put 100 euros in shares in, they can give that 100 euros to some fella out there and keep him happy for another couple of years till they get flogging this wind farmer selling it on to some unsuspecting buyer. Now, so decommissioning costs are not included, nor is the fact that these degrade. They lose roughly about 1.5% of their output every year because of old age, and they become obsolete very quick. Because they don't make money, they have to keep making new wind farm turbine designs to entice people to invest in the new type, and so nobody wants the old one. And they're very, very difficult to decommission. The blades are made of glass fibre and they have to be buried. They can't be got rid of. So the huge costs there. Now, so they have no residual value at all. It's not like having land. They don't even own the land, because if they owned the land, they'd be liable to take them down if somebody took an action after they decommission them, or after they end their time is up, their planning is up, or after they shut down because they can't make money. They're still caught with this, so they've thrown that over to the landowner and he'll be caught with taking out all this stuff. So there's no residual value. The developer can just walk away. Although the Companies Act, you can wind up a company and walk away. No, there's no problem, but the farmer can't walk away, and neither can I. I have them beside me here, and I have to look at them and listen to them. There'll be some laugh if they have to close them down because they make no money. Now, all equipment has to be replaced after 20 years. So after 25 years, you need new planning permission, and it'll be very hard to get new planning permission because there's evidence of the destruction they do to the environment and the noise and shadow flicker. But as well as that, their useful life in the accounts is 20 years. They're no good after 20 years. So all new equipment has to be bought, and therefore the old wind farm has nothing to offer. So you have to come along and raise new investment to build it again. So as you can see, it's a pyramid selling scheme or a Ponzi scheme. They're fagged out after 20 years, the wind turbines. Right, the cabling under the ground might be okay, that bit of it, but the turbines themselves, and even the plinth they're on, even there's 100 lorry loads of concrete in the stand they're on, and that will not do for other wind turbines because the bolts up through them get fatigued. You have to put in a whole new one in most cases. You could risk it, but it's not a good idea. So it's a money sinkhole. They build them, sell them, and build again. So that's the same model builders use for houses, but don't forget, with a house, it's as valuable maybe in 50 years' time or 100 years' time as it was when it was built. And many houses in the country today are still very valuable after 200 years. You can do them up, you can repair them, you have an asset, and the land they're on is valuable. These people have nothing. Now, Greencoat Renewables is an Irish company that bought overboard Gosh's portfolio. Now, they sold out, and this is a Canadian company, and it was in the Sunday Times 2 weeks ago. They're selling out, they're getting out. Because these crowds swallowed all this hype of a green new future. And the electric cars, they're a disaster as well. An article in the Irish Times yesterday about the people are ringing up, getting stuck in the middle of the day and blocking up cities with batteries running out and all that sort. Batteries can't be got. You can't get a battery for the Nissan Leaf in all of Canada, and it costs 9,800 if you could get it. That's the euros I'm talking about. So anyway, Gay Electric went wallop long ago. It's gone wallop long ago. The CEO, Brendan McGrath, I think is his name, he's been followed for 11 million through the courts, and I have another video there early on. There's 3 other wind farms for sale. They're all trying to get out and they can't get buyers, but they're looking. This is where I'm trying to save you and your friends money. Now, on News Talk Radio this morning, on the 26th of the 11th, 2020, 26th of November 2020, on News Talk Radio, an Irish broadcaster, there was an article about Greencoat Renewables, and they want investors to buy shares. They want the ordinary person to buy shares, and the shares are to alleviate debt. Shares on the stock exchange, to buy them at €1 piece to alleviate debt, and they want investors. This was News Talk Business, an Irish radio public broadcaster, News Talk Business, and the time would be something between about 7:25 and 9 o'clock. I heard it there, and you'll get it as a podcast or whatever if you don't believe me. It's there on it. I suppose about 7:30 to maybe 8:30, something around then. I can't be sure. But that's roughly the time I heard it, because I was out tending to the cattle and I have a radio in the shed, and I just didn't note it down. But it was on this morning anyway. Greencoat want to alleviate their debt. They cannot pay their debt. They can't pay anything. They're in serious trouble. They swallowed all this hype. Nobody listened. The financial regulator wouldn't listen to me. Government wouldn't listen. I sent our dossier away. Nobody listened. It's just an obsession with them. And they're now caught with this debt, and they want to get the ordinary person to buy shares at €1 per share on the stock exchange. I think it's the London Stock Exchange, right? They want them to buy the shares and let them write off, get rid of the debt, get the debt holders from the banks cleared, and then the ordinary person is left stuck. Now bills are rising. They were getting €30 from the PSO levy, the Public Service Obligation Levy, and they're rising to 84. They give them a raise this year, and there's VAT on top of that, bringing it to about 110, and the government gets about 25% VAT on any rise, so they love putting up the cost of electricity. But then you have to ask yourself the question, how long can the ordinary person afford this, and will people generate their own electricity? And is there ways around it? So putting up the bills is not that good. The need at the present capacity today, there's 3,400. Sorry, when I made the dossier, there was 3,400 megawatts installed, and at that stage, they needed €110 a year to clear, make them break even, because there were two Irish wind farms were €222 million in debt at that stage. An ordinary debt, that's to pay back the principal and their interest, but that's not to have money for decommissioning or money to build new ones when they wear out. So they need 220 million, and so I reckon it'd take up to 110 on each bill to bring them even to break even, and as they'd want a bit extra, it could take up to an awful lot more. So you could see bills going from the current price of around 26 cents per domestic unit. Remember, wholesale is megawatt, and domestic is retail, it's kilowatt. So you could see the cost of your bill going from 26 euro cent a megawatt, a kilowatt, 26 euro cent per unit, kilowatt hour. You could see that going up to anything to 40, 41 or 42, and I did a video on that, looking at it. It'd take a colossal amount of money to do that. So bills would need to double in many cases. Bills would need to double. Now remember, only 65% of wind energy can be allowed into the grid, and the Mark O'Malley of DCU, who advises the government, admitted that to me. That's the case. You have to have at least 35% of the grid fossil fuel to keep it stable. And the result is the cake is decreasing. So as they keep building more and more wind, and they're emphatic about doing this, they're enthusiastic, they're getting money anywhere they can, they're building this, they're getting the loans, and then they're discovering they can't pay the loans, and they're craving for equity from you and me. And Brian Stanley has introduced a bill this week. It's on Agriland, about the setback distances and all that. And he doesn't realise this has to undergo an SCA process, so his new bill can be challenged even if it does become law. But in it he said that he'll try to encourage local people to invest in wind farms. He's a Sinn Féin TD, and again, if they do, they're going to get caught. In one down in Tipperary, I checked, farmers who gave a whole lot of their land away, all they got so far was 4,000, and it cost up to 20. It cost up to 100,000 to decommission it and all that. And all they got after, since 2016, was 4,000. I was talking to one of them. That's no good. You'd make that letting the land easily. Now remember, these wind companies do not buy land. They will not become liable. They will not put them on land they own. They always go on the farmer's land, because they can pull out, and it's the farmer that's accountable for decommissioning them or anything like that. If the whole thing goes bottom up, it's the farmer or the landowner that gets caught. So they think they're making money. They've got a few pounds the last few years, and they think they're doing well, and they're going to be badly caught with that. The farms are destroyed. So Derrybrine is a wind farm in Galway where 50,000 salmon and trout were killed by a peat side, and the EU has fined Ireland €5 million over that for not assessing it properly, and they're finding them 15,000 a day, and we the taxpayers have to pay it. And it's happened again up in Donegal with Mean Bog, and that was on the RTE the other day. The whole mud has slid down into the river there, and devastating consequences for fish. I'll be posting that on my Facebook page, Val Martin, and I'll be posting that on. It's also there under Eco Advocacy. You'll see the destruction costs. So the purpose here of this, folks, and this is it now, is you could have a nurse who works all her life and gets her little gratuity of, we'll say, 75,000, and is tempted to put it into either this directly by Greencoat Renewable shares. That's it, that's dead money. She throws her money away, there's no money coming back. Or she could put it into like of Irish Life, who have a fund where they buy these type of shares, and they're not, that part of it is going to be dead. So what you'll end up doing is whatever else Irish Life makes, they'll not be able to pay you the wind. There's no joy in what they have in the wind thing. So you need to check. If you already have a pension, are they investing in this? And if they are, you need to move to a portfolio that has no wind, because this will collapse in the next couple of weeks. I predicted the ESB, who's heavily involved in wind, Electricity Supply Board, can't go on the way they're going. They're going to be in trouble. I've also predicted in an earlier video that Bord Namona, the Irish peat extraction company, semi-state, will need a bailout, and they got a bailout of 31 million in the last budget, and this has broken them. They're all trying to get into this to keep themselves going instead of producing what they were originally designed to do as semi-state bodies, and they're all going wallop as well. So they're going burst by the big time, and the companies like the National Toll Roads and all these are nearly bled out. What they're relying on now is Amazon and Google to invest in this stuff. They're doing that, and they have a lot of money to invest, and they're putting into this stuff. Let them at it, because they will probably be able to carry this. This is how wind works. It works on the ethics principle that if you're doing well in life, you invest in windmills, and it makes you feel good. But they don't do anything. At the very best, they reduce at the current capacity of about 3,500 megawatts of wind energy. They save maybe 5 or 6 barrels of oil a day, a year. 76, maybe a ton of coal they save, because they had to reopen coal burning in this country, and in England they're building opening a new mine over there. So you can't get away from fossil fuel that easy. There may be other ways of doing it, but wind is not the way you do it. Okay, wind is not the way you do it. It has it's measured properly by capacity credit, which means the amount of fuel you save. They have been measuring it by capacity factor, which means the amount of fuel generated. And early on, they were just saying, right, if you have 3,400 megawatts of wind energy, and you're using an average of 3,400, you have all wind energy. That's baloney. That's all fake. That's all a complete and utter hoax and a complete cod. Anyway, the purpose here is not to air my vengeance against this decrepit industry, which I'm fighting for 12 years. The purpose here is to warn you, or warn your daughter or your son or your brother-in-law or your mother-in-law. They might be bus drivers in Dublin. They might be driving the Kerry bus. They might be a train driver. They might be working in public parks. They could be working in the zoo. They could have a little pension fund there. They're saving up a little every year, and it's going in there, and they think this money is going to be there for them. And now that they had it couched up with other things so that you couldn't find out what was what. Now Greencoat Renewables are looking for direct money, nice little tidy €1 share, and they'd hope to get your 75,000 pumped in. And this is fraud. This is the saddest thing, that human beings will do this to other people, that they can do this. Now, if anyone thinks I'm wrong, I'm fully up. You put a message underneath for a full public debate on this. A full public debate. And I'm up for anything they want to do if they say I'm wrong. And they'll say, oh, you're talking nonsense. This is the fact. The dossier tells the truth. You cannot pay back a wind farm. It's a ridiculous concept. 20% is all you get, and even the only way they can make them pay is jack up the price of electricity so much that people won't be able to pay it. The other leg they had on the table was the electric cars, and the wheels are coming off that wagon as well. You can't get a battery in all of Canada for a Nissan Leaf car, and if you do get it, it's 9,800 euros to buy it, but they're not available. They're simply not available. So people, if the wheels are coming off this can't go on. There's nobody charging electric cars in Ballybor now because they started charging people money to charge up, and you have to have an account. So that's the wheels will come off that. So this whole green thing is going to come a cropper, no matter how much the media pump into it, no matter how well they make it go. The fact is, if some person, some a worker who has a little pension, cashes it in and puts it into Greencoat Renewables, that's good night, Irene. You'll never see it. They can sue me if they want. Go ahead, let's bring it on. And remember, there is a scheme now. The pension funds are so depleted that the government has done a few things. One is, according to the Irish Energy blog, it has disposed of its shares in Greencoat Renewables. This is Greencoat. Remember now, there's Gay Electric, there's Brookfield, and there's Greencoat, big players in this field. Gay Electric's gone wallop, Brookfield are pulling out, and Greencoat are in trouble. So remember that. But the government has disposed of its shareholding. I can't believe that wise. According to the Irish Energy blog, that somebody posted that said that's true, and I've no reason to doubt it. So even the government seems to be getting out. But Richard Bruton and Sinn Féin fellow Brian Stanley, they are all advising, get involved, have proper setback distances, and get people involved and make it popular. How can you make popular something which can never get your money back? And under the pension fund thing, they brought out tax laws now that if you have a defined benefit or defined contribution pension, I hope I'm not repeating myself here. If I have, please bear with me. If you have that type of pension, like in Gypsum Industries, they pay it into a defined contribution. You're guaranteed somehow. There's no money in them, so the government realises when it comes to get your money, you'll get nothing or get very little. You'll not get your money eventually. They can't keep paying. There's no money in these funds. The bank, the AIB, Ireland Irish Banks Fund, has 21 million of a shortfall in the pension sector, and that's the same everywhere. And so they're giving you incentives. You can get out and buy other things. You can buy a house or buy anything, and you have to go with strict rules, and you can't get your money back until your pension age. So it's not a bad idea, except that it drives up the price of houses a bit. But you can't get your money back until your pension age. Now, what's happening is that some people then get an incentive to take out the money, cash in their defined benefit pension or defined contribution pension, and if they stick it into wind, you're caught again, you're gone, you're into poverty, you're into pure poverty, you're living on whatever little bit the state will hand out to you. So don't fall into that trap. And one man was about to do that, and he saw my videos, and he changed, and he rang me, and I told him it's a fact. I showed him the dossier, and he went up to an advisor somewhere about Dublin, and he told the advisor, and the advisor says that man is probably right, but I have to do what people ask me to do. So he changed, and he bought a house instead in Roscrea, down there in Tipperary, and a good house, and he's very glad now he has that let out, and that's doing all right. So there's other things you can do. You can buy gold, and we can look at that in due course, but the point about it is you do not want to see. People are very concerned. That gentleman was on to me the other day, and he says, I'm very worried about this. There'll be a big expose. It'll be all over RTE. Oh, we didn't know. And there'll be some poor person on. Imagine a lovely little nurse, this Filipino nurse. She come over here and she says, I had me pension. I was going to retire. It's all gone. This happened. Don't forget Mike Murphy, the big fella on RT, going around fooling people with his jinx and all that. He was fooled in Florida. He was cleaned out with an investment company. And Gayborn was cleaned out twice. Russell Murphy, his friend, cleaned him out, and he was cleaned out again. So the media are no one to advise anybody on investments. All I can say to you people is, please tell people, please warn people. And I have to go now because I think my thing is nearly up. Please warn them. Do not invest in wind. Do not invest in any kind of renewable energy projects or any kind of green stuff. They may be difficult to get alternatives, but don't throw your money away. And then I can sleep with a clear conscience, and so can my friend. I'll let you go. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Thank you very much.